Joining us is Republican Congressman Ron Paul of Texas. He's joining us now from the Conservative Political Action Conference here in Washington. Congressman Paul, thanks very much for joining us. Let's talk about Egypt, a subject you know quite a bit about. You've said controversial remarks. He said Egypt is the United States' 30-year mistake. What were you referring to?
Well, we've invested a lot of money into Mubarak, and I don't think it was a good investment. It was stable for a while, but it was building the resentment and the instability that finally burst out. So I would say the $70 billion was not worth it, and that unfortunately many of those dollars ended up in Swiss bank accounts for his family. So I think it was a big mistake. And we really don't have the money to spare, and I don't think it does anything for our national security.
So if you had your way, the $1.5 billion a year that the U.S. provides Egypt in military, mostly military, about $1.3 billion, about another $200 million of economic assistance, if you had your way, all of that would be gone immediately? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not a believer in foreign aid. And, you know, I sort of liked what Eisenhower did in 1956. I was a college student then, had remembered the Korean War, and when the British and the French were attacked by the Egyptians to take the canal, and they went to Eisenhower, and Eisenhower said, I don't want to have anything to do with it. So I think that was good advice, and that's probably the way we should have stayed that way. And we should do a lot less, a lot sooner, and not waste all this money because it tends to come back to haunt us. It reminds me a little bit about propping up the Shah of Iran. Just look at that problem. Then we ended up with the Ayatollah. So they're not good investments. I like the founders' advice. You know, be friends with people and trade with people and negotiate and get along with them, but not to get involved in internal affairs and all these treaties and border squabbles. It's not in our best interest, but it will come to an end mainly for economic reasons, and that's what happened to the Soviet system. They didn't end because they all of a sudden got wisdom. They ended because they got bogged down in Afghanistan and they went bankrupt and the whole system fell apart. And we could face a crisis just like that, and we will have to pull back.
So what I hear you saying is the United States should simply walk away from Egypt right now and let the Egyptians do what they want. But in terms of maintaining this very tight military-to-military connection, the U.S. should simply leave the Egyptians to the Egyptians. Is that your attitude?
Sure. I think so. I mean, if we'd have a problem like that, we wouldn't want foreigners in here to sort things out. We would say it's our responsibility. So I think that's the problem, that we've been too much involved. So the sooner we get out of it, the better. We shouldn't. I mean, right now, I'm sure our State Department, our CIA is looking around for our next guy that we can support, because most of them now have expressed, well, we can't really give them democracy. They might elect the wrong person. See, we're all for democracy as long as they pick the right person, and we just as soon prefer a dictator that will do our bidding, and then we give them a lot of money. I'd like another option rather than either just bombing people or giving them money. I would say friendship and diplomacy is a much better way to go. I mean, this army was built by us, and the military-industrial complex loved it. They made a lot of money off that. But the army was there for all those 30 years was to protect Mubarak. It wasn't for national defense purposes. So that's our army, 450,000 troops that we were.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Monday, February 14th, 2011, and I'm Darko. Welcome everyone to this news bulletin. You can check out my website, www.ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. I posted a poll the other day. It says, what country will be the next to go through a regime change similar to Egypt? I have Yemen, Tunisia, Syria, Pakistan, Algeria, Iran, Ivory Coast, a country that is not listed and not sure. And as of right now, it's Pakistan and Tunisia that are at the top, and then after that would be Algeria, Yemen, and we have down here a country that is not listed is also up there. So, and you can find all the links below the video's description. The first article up is Homeland Security Budget Gets Small Budget Boost. The Obama administration on Monday proposed a nearly 2% increase in spending on Homeland Security for 2012, one of the few areas of the budget that will likely see a boost as the White House battles a ballooning deficit. So I pretty much talked about all this, right? And all my videos about how the government, federal government, and their little budget and their deficit that you have really no say or no control in all goes to the military-industrial complex. I mean, it's kind of like a broken record, right? But there's still people that believe that, the government's really trying to cut back and tighten the belts. No, it's like you're going to tighten your belt and your programs are going to be cut, but all the military programs and all the spying is going to keep going. It says here, CIA Director Leon Panetta warns of possible cyber Pearl Harbor, and they've been saying this over and over again to create bigger spy infrastructure. And we move on to this. Cyber intelligence gathering would get more funding in Obama budget plan. And President Barry Soetoro proposed increasing the U.S. Justice Department's spending by 2%, calling for an expansion of cyber investigations and more staff to enforce intellectual property laws. Then we have this. Defense enjoys brief boost under Obama budget. The White House proposed on Monday to spend $671 billion on the military next year, handing the Pentagon a short-term boost even as it prepares for tighter budgets in coming years. So, no surprise there. Highways, aviation, rail aid grows in Obama plan. Well, why? Well, that's what they're going to need to haul your ass off to the FEMA camps. President Barry Soetoro proposed a 16% transportation spending increase for fiscal 2012 while tying spending on many highway, aviation, and rail programs to Congress, passing a multi-year funding bill. So, says here, wireless advances could mean no more cell towers. Woohoo! When I saw this, I was like, all right, great, good job, all right. Fluoride coming out of the water, half of it at least, 50%. In Calgary, they're removing it all the way, 100%. And then we have this. Oh, no, I was let down. As cell phones have spread, so have large cell towers. Those unsightly stalks of steel topped by transmitters and other electronics that sprouted across the country over the last decade. And the biggest argument against these towers is aesthetic reasons. In other words, they don't look pretty. There's nothing ever talked about as far as the health or safety concerns. And that's why most of them are located near highways and less more remote areas where there's less housing, because they do give off electromagnetic frequencies and radiation. So over a long period of time, you're living around that stuff. I would imagine that you're going to get it in small, low doses. It says here, now the wireless industrial is planning a future without them, or at least without many more of them, ha ha ha. Instead, it's looking at much smaller antennas, some tiny enough to hold in a hand. These could be placed on, lampposts, utility poles, and buildings, virtually anywhere with electrical and network connections. So what does that mean, guys? That means that they're going to be everywhere now, and they're going to be closer to you. So that's not good news. Oh, look at this. President Barry Soetoro pitches $18 billion wireless broadband plan in this remote, snow-swept college town, whatever. Obama outlined a plan to create similar economic stories through the expansion of super fast wireless internet connections. So he was speaking at Michigan University, unveiled an ambitious blueprint to use $18 billion in federal funds, that's your money stolen from you, to get 98% of the nation connected to the internet on smartphones and tablet computers in 5 years. And they just changed the FCC where Obama can now, or the president, can basically tap in to the national emergency thing. So messages that comes on where it goes beep, 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 and now Obama can speak directly to you, kind of like in Jericho, right, where the head of the Homeland Security just comes on and speaks directly to the people. And that's why they're doing it, because they're preparing. That's why they're getting all the railways. This is all in preparation. Keep the military budget at the same, lower, and gut all the other programs, and call it austerity. So it says here specifically $10.7 billion would go towards building an interoperable public safety network so first responders can communicate and send video files and emails during disasters and national security threats. And then we have here $5 billion to go to rural areas, which isn't too bad, I guess, right? But it says here about $3 billion goes to a government research and development program. I would assume that would be DARPA. So basically for national security, for DARPA, you pretty much get the point, right? Then we got here, Justice Department assertion, FBI can get phone records without oversight. We have police charge over private data leaks, and this is out of Australia. 2 serving police and a former officer have been arrested and charged on a corruption probe. And keep moving. Protesters call for Berlusconi to resign. And what does he have to say? Berlusconi refuses to resign, dismisses protest. So he said on Monday he had no intention of stepping down and dismissed a weekend demonstration by women across Italy over his involvement in a sex scandal. And we have Los Angeles gets tough with political protesters for acts of political protest that his predecessor treated as mere infractions. LA City Attorney says he's seeking jail time. It says here, LA attorney is throwing the book at dozens of people arrested during the recent political demonstrations, a major shift in city policy that has him pressing for jail time in types of cases that previous prosecutors have treated as infractions. Egypt's army commits to civilian rule and treaties, so they're going to play along, right? Egyptian military dissolves parliament. And we have this analysis: military coup was behind Mubarak's exit. Egypt opposition calls for civilian rule. Then we have Egypt's generals impose martial law. And then we have Egyptian protesters slam military rule. So you see how it's really breaking down? But you're not going to get the fluff. You just get the fluffy, stories on CNN and that, right? The little taglines and 5-minute news blurps or whatever, minute news blurps. But that's what's going on, just right in that order, like that. That's what's going on. So are the people getting what they want? Just like the poll on my website? No, they're not. It's going to be a negative outcome, and it's going to be whatever the powers that be want. So it says here, WikiLeaks, Egyptian torturers trained by FBI. The U.S. provided officers from the Egyptian secret police with training at the FBI, despite allegations that they routinely tortured detainees and suppressed political opposition. And it was actually part of Mubarak's police or military that they were posing as protesters, and they were the prisoners. They were freeing people out of the prisons. They're basically provocateurs. So we have this jihadi who helped train 7/7 bomber freed by U.S. after 5 years. And it says, release prompts claim Islamist was U.S. informant while assisting London terrorists. So no big surprise there. CIA spy captured giving nuclear bomb to terrorists. This is an interesting story. This guy, man, I don't know what's going to happen to him. Obviously, he should get some help from, his Alphabet Soup agency buddies. But who knows? Maybe they'll hang him out to dry, as they say, burn him, whatever. Because right now he's in a lot of trouble. And we've heard the story about Pakistan about someone, a diplomat, right? A diplomat shooting 2 civilians over, being robbed. Well, it had nothing to do with that. And it says here, Davis was captured by Pakistani police after he shot and killed 2 men in the eastern city. And it says U.S. claims they were trying to rob him. Pakistan, however, says that the 2 men Davis killed were ISI, that's Pakistan agents sent to follow him after it was discovered he had been making contact with the Al-Qaeda after his cell phone was tracked to the Waziristan tribal area bordering Afghanistan, where the Pakistan Taliban and other militant groups have forged a safe haven. And former CIA agent Tim Osman, also known as Osama bin Laden, is believed to be hiding. So we'll move on here. Social media plays role in Egypt, some expected in Iran. Of course, this is all kind of like color revolutions. And it says Google's Revolution Factory Alliance Youth Movements and Color Revolution 2.0. This article has been all over the internet from activist posts. And you go in here and it basically talks about how some of these groups, movement.org or foundingmovements.org, are partnered with the Department of State, Columbia Law School, Google, Pepsi, so CFR, CBS, Kodak, Staples, Ford. So, pretty much the global, I guess you could call it complex corporations is what they are. And says here, Egyptian activist creates image issue for Google. So it says Google Incorporated executive who has become a hero of the Egyptian revolution is public relations gold for the internet power, but analysts say the company must be careful not to overplay its hand. Why is that? Because, well, there's a lot of people that think that the Google is actually the NSA or the CIA. So it makes sense if this whole Google revolution was done by the NSA CIA, because, of course, Ron Paul just pretty much was informing us about how the U.S. funded the Egyptian army. So Egypt's Wael Ghonim of Google, and it says Ghonim plays an integral part in el-Baradei's seize to power. And I keep pressing that dang picture there. I'm trying to just move down. As many honest people are still confounded over the true nature of the Egyptian protesters occupying Cairo's Tahrir Square, yet another hero was lifted up to the global-controlled mainstream media has turned out to be linked, knowingly or unknowingly, to a foreign plot. So it goes in there and it says he helped create his official website, helped campaign for him, and you can go check out the link. Iraq Al-Qaeda group calls for a holy war in Egypt. So I guess now you're going to see Al-Qaeda and terrorist cells and car bombs in Egypt. Rocks and batons fly in the Yemen protest. So please join me in part 2 of this news bulletin. This is GGN, and I'm Darko. Thank you.